Nolan Reynolds. I want to do the interview with you.
Oh, hey, Nolan. How's it going?
Good.
Yeah. What kind of questions you got?
Well, my first question is, what's your current job title, pretty much?
Chief engineer for K-Frog Radio.
Oh, okay. So, what is that job title? What do you do with your job, pretty much? What do you do within your job?
So, I'm responsible for, basically in a nutshell, I'm responsible for all the technical operations of the station and making sure that it stays on the air. And if anything breaks, I'm responsible for making sure it gets fixed and we get back on the air as quickly as possible. So obviously if we go off the air, then we lose money.
Yeah. Yeah, so could you describe to me what your average work day is like?
It's actually not, there isn't an average work day, because we have a total of, we actually have a total of 9 sites. So that's 9 buildings that we're in charge of, that we have equipment in, and people in those buildings that are using the equipment. So the reason why I bring that up is because from day to day, what I'm going to do for a specific day changes, because it depends on what's broke where. For example, I'm actually up at K-Frog's transmitter site right now because we're installing new remote control equipment. Tomorrow I'm going to be in Palm Springs because we've got the fire marshal coming out to do an inspection in the building. So there really isn't a day-to-day because it changes so much. It fluctuates between me doing paperwork and fixing things and installing equipment. So
yeah,
there isn't really a standard day. It's just there's a lot going on.
Got it. Can you describe your educational background for your job?
So I've always been somewhat self-taught. So I went to 2-year college and got an AA degree. But when I realized somewhere in that 2 years that I specifically wanted to be a radio engineer. And there really is no radio engineer degree at a 4-year university. What I ended up doing was I took a distance learning program through the Cleveland Institute of Electronics. And what they do is they basically send you books, you do lessons, you have, they also send you equipment to test with, and you can call the instructor and things like that. So it's pretty much the best distance learning program that I could find to learn electronic theory. Aside from that, I also, when I was starting as an engineer, is when computers just started to come into the workplace and become commonplace. So the chief engineer that I was working under at the time didn't know anything about computers, and so I saw a need there. So I started to teach myself computers. I was fortunate enough to where I could kind of play around with them and teach myself while at the radio station. And I also started my own computer repair business, which helped out a lot. So I would drive to people's homes, and I had a few businesses that I did work for, kind of like freelance computer repair.
Yeah.
So those two things, the distance learning and the computer repair, and just having a knack for knowing or finding out which questions to ask and how to get answers to questions. Because a lot of what we do is troubleshooting and problem solving.
Got it. Just a couple more questions. If you had to go back do it all over, I guess you could say, your career or education, would you change it or would you keep it the same?
That's a good question. I've always been very fortunate in that things have kind of lined up perfectly in my life, or at least it feels that way, to where I've learned one thing, like the computer repair, for example. Learning a little bit of computer repair, or learning a little bit about computers and reading about computers, led me to doing the computer repair business, and doing the computer repair business led me to learning IT, which I use all the time now. No, I would say that that the way I did it worked out perfectly for me. It may not be perfect for everybody because everybody's different, but I'm happy with what I did. Also because the cost was a lot low. I know a lot of people end up with a lot of student loan debt these days because the cost of college education is so high. So I don't think I would change anything.
Yeah. And another question: what advice would you give to someone who's interested in pursuing a career like this?
I would advise to learn IT with some electronic theory, because having the knowledge that I learned starting out my career is becoming less and less needed. So when I say electronic theory, I'm talking about learning how capacitors work and inductors and all the little components that go on a circuit board. So I would say to get a knowledge base in IT, maybe go to even if you do go to a 4-year university or a 2-year university, and that's the thing too. Today there's so many, for IT, there's so many other avenues to explore as far as learning that kind of thing. You could work side by side in an IT company, and you could also learn it from home because there's so many, YouTube videos and online classes and things like that for that kind of field. But you would also need to learn some electronic theory, and how you would learn that. I guess I would advise to take some basic electronic theory from the same program that I used, which is Cleveland Institute of Electronics. They still offer that program, but I probably would advise not to take as much of the electronic theory as I did back in the day. So I guess the short answer is a lot of IT and a little bit of electronic theory is what you need to learn.
Okay. And just one more question. Have you found any ways to make your job easier or more rewarding?
Yeah. In fact, the IT aspect has made it a lot easier. I'll give you a quick anecdote. I remember years ago, my wife and I and the kids were visiting a family member at Newport Beach. They were renting this really nice house on the beach, and we went out there to stay with them for a couple days. And something had happened. I don't remember exactly what, at the radio station I was working for. One of the stations was off the air, and I had to pack up the family and head back. And that kind of situation is almost non-existent these days. So flash forward to, this is probably a few years ago. Me and the wife and kids were heading up north to visit my mother-in-law, and one of the stations was off the air, and because of how technology had advanced over the years, I was able to log in from my iPhone into the automation computer that was causing a problem and fix it, or at least put something back, get something on the air. So I almost never have to worry about coming back from a vacation or something like that. So just setting up remote control and have everything accessible from a network, from the internet, has made my life a lot easier.
Got it. Well, thank you for doing this interview, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Bye. See you later. Bye.